So I dropped out of school, started working construction, renovated houses, did all that, got into that. Came across this little Italian guy that was flipping houses, and we were doing all the jobs for him. And we did like so many houses, and he was always coming up. I was like, "What, do you own all of these?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "How? What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, I'm a real estate investor." I'm like, "The fuck is that?"
Yeah, so teach me.
Yeah, what is this? He's like, "Well, you just buy a house, you fix it up, and you sell it, or you keep it as a rental." I was like, "Well, no, you buy a house, but I'm fixing it up, so I'm doing all the work, you know." So I was like, then I started getting into like, how do I learn how to do this?
Mm-hmm.
So the first book I got was Rich Dad Poor Dad. I don't know if anybody's heard of it, but what that book taught me was that it was possible for somebody like me to build this, because I always thought you needed to come from money.
Yeah.
You needed to be rich. You needed to come from a status. Like only rich people own houses, right? That was always my perception. And when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I was like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So I started going down that road.
How did you get your hands on that book?
Actually, Val, my wife, got it for me.
That's amazing.
I asked her to get me. I actually asked her to get me Donald Trump's Real Estate 101 book, because I was like, "Who's the biggest real estate investor I know?" It was Donald Trump, right, at the time.
What year was this about?
I would say like 2009.
Okay.
10, around there.
Yeah, like in the middle of the crash.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So those were fun times. And so she went, and one of her friends' husband told her about Rich Dad Poor Dad, so she got me both. And she comes with Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I'm like, the hell's this purple book? You know, like it's purple, is like kind of weird looking. Some Asian guy on the cover.
Paperback?
Yeah,
I had the paperbacks.
And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, all right. And I looked at the Donald Trump one, I looked at this one, and the letters just looked bigger. And that was the first time I read a book outside of school. Like, I never read. My literacy level was very low. And I was like, well, this one looks easier to read. So I started reading it, and I was like, holy crap. Like, this book is telling me everything that, you know, I need to know about, that I can do this.
Yeah. What do you think your life would be like if you read that other one instead?
I still, you know what's funny? To this day, I've never read it.
No need.
Never read it. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. It took off from there. And I never opened up that other book.
Yeah, being in the coaching space too, like Rich Dad Poor Dad, I read it in college, and it changed my life too. Right. But everybody asks, like, what book should I read first? And I just feel so cliche saying that book, but it's so powerful, man.
It covers everything.
Yeah.
The thing with it that I like the most is that it's not a book that teaches you how to invest.
No.
It's a mindset book.
For sure.
And that's where, even with my students, I laugh so much, because I thought when I opened up my coaching that I was going to be teaching strategies, you know, sales, negotiations, all these things. I spend 80% of the time talking mindset.
Yeah.
That is the biggest holdup people have is, you know, how can I charge 50 grand for a wholesale?
Yeah.
Right? How can I make this much money? How can I do this? And it's mindset.
Yeah. And to me, just kind of knowing where you came from, it took you years to develop that mindset yourself. And I know it did for me too. Yeah. So you became a quote unquote expert at the mind. This fly is driving me nuts, by the way. That's all right. Come on in. Our third guest, super fly. But, yeah, you know, I feel like we're at a point where we're able to give back and teach that mindset. And I think that's the foundation.
Yeah.
You know, that's more important than the nuts and bolts anyway.
And what's funny is, like, if you're listening, you don't like to hear this, because I know you don't, because you feel that you're broke because you don't have the strategies. And the strategies are everywhere.
Yeah.
You can literally go on any YouTube channel and get all the strategies for free. It's the mindset that's keeping you broke.
Yeah.
It's the fact that you feel like you need to know more. You don't know enough. You don't have enough experience. You need more money. Whatever it is, it's all mindset, because the strategies are literally all over the place.
Yeah.
Right? It's just that you complicate it so much in your head.
Yeah. And Jay Jonesy said, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is goated. And it's a great book. And I love the story that he tells throughout the book, too. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting to me is my dad gave me that book. Oh. And, you know, it's funny because my dad has some qualities of both. Mm-hmm. And I can kind of see it in the book. But I'm forever grateful and in debt to him for giving me that book. Like, hey, you should read this. I was like, read a book in college? Why? What would I need that for? I'm reading all these engineering books. So it was a huge turning point in my life.
Yeah, very powerful book. Yeah, no, my dad, I don't think my dad ever read a book. He was also like just working. The only thing he ever taught me was work ethic.
Yeah.
Not the only thing, but the biggest thing he taught me was work ethic.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen anybody work as hard as him.
Yeah. That's important too, man.
So that's why like I always, when people say like, how are you going to do this? I was like, look, all I can promise you is nobody's going to ever outwork me. Like you're not going to take my food. Yeah. That's for damn sure.
No, I love it, man. So your wife gives you that book, you read it. What happens after that?
So what happened after that is I've read that one. I read down, like I started going down that whole track. I got a wholesaling book because at the time I still didn't know about wholesale.
Yeah.
So I felt like, you still need to buy houses. And I bought this other book actually from Kiyosaki. It's called like The Big Book of Real Estate or something. It's not a popular book, but it covers everything having to do with real estate. It had commercial real estate, multifamily, land, everything. And in there, it had a section about wholesaling. And it was like, here's wholesaling. You don't need any money and you can make a lot of money. I was like, great, because I don't have any money and I need a lot of money. Yeah. So it made sense. And the guy teaching that segment was Dean Graziosi.
Yeah.
So I picked up his books on wholesaling and I was like, here we go. I got his books. I know how to do marketing now. I know how to do all this. And that's how people teach you. They teach you to start with marketing. So he teaches a strategy. It's a 25-1. So you go on the MLS, you make 25 lowball offers, 50% from whatever they're asking, and to get hopefully one contract out of that. So I burned out a shit ton of realtors, pissed off so many people, but I got a property on the contract.
Yeah.
I got it for $44,000.
It was listed for 88.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Well, you kind of fudge the numbers a little, so it's not like
exactly.
They're like, oh, you just did 50%, right? So it was like, I think like 78 something, and I just went at 44, and they accepted it. And then I was like, now what? Yeah. I don't know what to do. So I went out. This was 12 years ago, 13 years ago. So I went on Craigslist because there wasn't like the Facebook groups you have now. The RIA at the time was like 50 minutes away, and it was only like just real estate agents there. So I went on Craigslist. I put the property. One guy responded, and I was like, all right. And he's like, yeah, I'll go see the house. He flaked on me, didn't show up. I panicked, and I just canceled the contract.
Oh, man.
So that was it. Less than a month later, that house sold on the MLS for the full asking price.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I could have wholesaled this for like 70 grand.
Yeah.
Made a killing.
Yeah.
But I think that was intentional for me not to make that easy money. Because everybody I've seen that gets started in real estate that makes easy money, they struggle.
Yeah.
Because then they keep looking for easy money. And you and I know, like, this is anything but easy when you're starting off. You got to be willing to put in the work.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think it's the best place to start in real estate investing, wholesaling. But we went so backwards in our journey. We did a rental first, then a fix and flip, and then we took down a fix and flip that was pretty clean. And we actually closed on it, but then we pretty much just sold it after we closed on it without touching it, and made 20 grand, didn't touch it, and we're like, well, and then we went to Than Merrill, remember Than Merrill? Yeah, we went to one of his events here in St. Louis.
Fortune Builders.
Yeah, and they were preaching wholesaling hard and tried to hard close us on another $20,000 product, and it was a pretty terrible experience, honestly. But he talked about wholesaling a lot in there, and that just put the terminology to what I was starting up to already put together. So we went completely backwards. So we're going to talk about the right way to do things and kind of the right steps to get towards that financial independence today.